In Serum, we can do something a little bit different in terms of making some unique tunings in here. So we can use the LFOs, for example, and we can use the Chaos Lorenz or even the Rossier there to create some natural drift in pitch by attaching it to certain parameters, just to give it that general sort of like drifting feeling. There's even some drifting wavetables in there as well. But there is another way that we can do this, and it's a very similar workflow to Diva, and we can drift or essentially choose each note up to 8 notes to hit in a different position, so we can offset the sense a little bit in the tuning to give it a bit more of a humanized feel. So you can see this lead here. I've just got a little bit of a sharper lead, and this is generated from my Spire Trance leads bank, and I just exported a section of that and then layered it up with these two wavetables. And then really the sound comes from the compressor and the equalizer here. Take note, the Q is what's controlling this sound, so that's just there for you to note. So a nice sharp, tack sharp note, and it's just got that little bit of squelchiness in it. But what we want to do is just drift that pitch. So we can jump into the global tab, and you can see that we've got this voice control section here in the middle. This makes it really easy to drift the pitch, the pan, the envelopes, and even mod 1 and mod 2 there. And we've also got a random generator here. So in these, you can see there, randomize the sense, and it'll turn the tuning offset based on what we're setting here. So for example, the easiest one to hear is panning. So each voice is going to hit different. Obviously, after 8 repetitions, it's going to be the same pattern, but we can make this really subtle like this, just to give it a bit of movement. And then we can do the same for the detune. So this is where I was mentioning Diva before. We can actually offset the tunes of each note per voice. We can do up to 8 on here, but that gives us that flexibility still to just make it sound a little bit more humanized and get that analog feel as everybody is wanting to get. So if you use this detune here, let's just offset them really obviously. You can hear it's doing exactly the same what it was doing to the panning, but now we're doing it to the detune. So if we do this by a couple of cents each direction, let's just say 5 there, 3 here. I'm just doing this at random. I'm not really picking anything in particular. And let's just make that one go a bit further. So now we're getting that slight offset. To the untrained ear, you can't really hear anything, but it's just adding that flexibility into the preset, and it's just going to set yours aside from everybody else's. Now, we also have these random controls here, so essentially they're like scalers in a way. So if we use it on the pan, for example, we can see we've got minute adjustments to the pan. It's moving left and right ever so slightly, but we can increase it here 100% to make it appear like it's doing a lot more, so we scale it up. But it's also doing that at random as well, from what I can tell. You can correct me on that if I'm wrong, but that is doing roughly a scaling essential, say. So it's roughly doing scaling, but it's also doing it randomized as well, because this is a random section. And we can do this with the detune and the cutoff and envelopes as well. So if you look at the detune, we can just offset them a little bit more to what they were. And if you've got a preset, this one's not one of them, but if you've got a preset that's got a sub in it, you can jump in here and you can turn off the sub so that doesn't drift with pitch. That'll just stay nice and solid, and you'll get a nice solid low end without it drifting around. And you can turn off anything that you want in here. So this relates to the sub, oscillators A, B, and C, and the noise generator. So I'm just going to turn off the sub and noise just because we're not using them. Continuity. And that is how we can use the voice control section. Just a note at the bottom as well, on the scaling, you can see here the envelopes have 100% scaling at the moment, and the LFOs do as well. So if you was to look at this LFO here, you can make this triangle be very subtle by just dragging this point down, but we can also scale that up 1000%, and we can also take it down to 10%, so we can get even more fine tune with the movements in LFOs, for example, and the same with envelopes as well. So we can take it down to 10 and up to 1000, so we can scale up the movement of those. So let's just say typically This envelope here is opening up the cutoff. So if we look at this, you can see it's opening it up to about 1 o'clock position there. What the scaling's doing is it's going to push it 1,000% further than what it is actually going. So if we look at what it's doing now, and I'll return this to 100 now on the envelope. So it's making that envelope work further than what it actually would do. And it's great for doing minute tunings. We could cover that in another video, I suppose. And then on top of that, you can save your voice control in. So I could save this as analog drift 1. And there we are. I can just pull that up and add it into new presets or presets that I've downloaded that don't feature this. Really handy tool there. And that is the voice control section. So hopefully you learned something new in this video. If you did, hopefully it earns a like and a subscription as well, because I'm going to do a lot more Serum 2 content. So thank you very much for watching. I'll look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Take care.